nothing wrong with your radio.
Do not attempt to adjust the volume.
We are controlling the broadcast.
For the next hour we will control all that you hear.
You are about to experience the knowledge and insights of the Media Mothership.
All right, welcome here to Media Mothership, broadcasting out of Edge Radio Studios in Nipaluna. Sunny at the moment, Hobart, Tasmania. On the show, we explore how media can shape our understanding of the world around us. And we're streaming, of course, across the vast media platforms we can secure, including edgeradio.org.au, YouTube, and Twitch. Just search for us on Media Mothership, as well as the FM system on 99.3 FM. You can message us via the SMS, which is 04888 11707, or send a chat message on the Twitch or YouTube platform. I'm your host, as always, Dr. Craig, and we heard a great song there, Ice Ice Matrix by Oral Noughts, a song I've been completely playing on a loop at home via their YouTube channel, Oral Noughts. I'll put a link to their show in the page description, on the show's description on YouTube. What they've done, and again, continuing the theme of AI mutated material, what the Oral Noughts team have done is taken dialogue from the Matrix film and then put the lyrics to Vanilla Ice's Ice Ice Baby to the actors from the Matrix. So you probably would have now heard, that thing that was like, surely that's Agent Smith from the Matrix. Indeed, so they had them, the original cast of the Matrix, alongside the actor Wilford Brimley, recording one of, as their description on YouTube says, the greatest rap covers of all time. It's worth checking out in terms of they've also used kind of that lip flap technology so that it appears the actors are saying these lines from Ice Ice Baby. Very much worth checking out. That's Oral Noughts Ice Ice Matrix. Well, what are we doing on today's show? We're going to continue this deep dive into some AI mutations. We're going to look at some news linking media to war, in this sense, the Star Wars and the real war in Ukraine and their air raid alert app, as well as diving into some interesting stories around artificial intelligence. So keep listening here on Media Mothership, Edge Radio 99.3, to all the latest news and happenings in media and pop culture. All right, welcome back to Media Mothership. First news story I want to talk about is from the ABC News webpage. It's headlined, Mark Hamill, Star Wars Luke Skywalker himself is now the voice of Ukrainians' air raid alert app. This was a piece posted Tuesday this week, 28th of March. And it's a really fascinating piece looking at how the air raid alert app that can be used in Ukraine has the voice actor Mark Hamill, or at least Mark Hamill, famous for being Luke Skywalker from Star Wars or Joker from the animated adventures of Batman. Mark Hamill's voice being able to provide the alert to this. So it's interesting to look at why they would have done this. The article goes on to speculate it's a way of bringing attention to the types of stress and distress that the Ukrainians have been suffering for a long time now. and bringing someone with the celebrity cachet of Mark Hamill certainly got an article such as this written, and people looking through it, looking at why this has happened. The article goes on to talking about possibly using some humor in terms of casting Mark Hamill with all the kind of paratextuality of him as Luke Skywalker, so kind of hero. So finding some humor in a bad situation, possibly as well, that might be useful. Let's hear what this sounds like. So this is from the Associated Press's article, where they have a mobile phone that's been hooked up with the Ukrainian mobile app that announces this whenever there's an air raid or a bombardment facing Ukraine. This is what you can hear with the app.
Attention, air raid alert. Proceed to the nearest shelter. Don't be careless. Your overconfidence is your weakness.
After the worst.
Your overconfidence is your weakness. Isn't that the line from Return of the Jedi? When he's about to kill the Emperor, or the Emperor, he kind of psychs out the Emperor. I think that's a direct line from Return of the Jedi. Again, doubling up on that idea of the kind of intertextuality that they're bringing in here. I, as an experiment, ran this through Chat GPT. So I thought it'd be interesting to see how Chat GPT would summarize a news story such as this. So I had Chat GPT read the article and then provide a summary, and then I plugged it into ClipChamp to use the voice of Amber to give voice to Chat GPT summary. So let's hear how Chat GPT summarizes this Mark Hamill story.
Mark Hamill, best known for playing the iconic character of Luke Skywalker in the Star Wars franchise, has provided his voice for a new mobile app in Ukraine that alerts users of air raid sirens and missile attacks. The app, called Air Raid Alerts, was developed by Ukrainian volunteers and uses location-based technology to notify users of incoming attacks. The app is designed to supplement the government's own warning systems and has already been downloaded over 300,000 times. The addition of Hamill's voice is aimed at increasing the app's reach and effectiveness in reaching a wider audience.
The article discusses the concept of AGI.
Okay, yep. No, thank you, ChatGPT. I think that's enough for the moment. But that was useful. So it's been downloaded a ton of times. So certainly, again, it's triggered a lot of interest. And of course, Mark Hamill's celebrity novel voice of the air raid warning is in parallel to Ukrainian, the kind of other Ukrainian air warning app that probably doesn't use a quote from Return of the Jedi and Mark Hamill's voice. But again, you can see, and again, thank you ChatGPT for providing that summary of the article. I think it knocked out most of the key points when I looked over the article of it. It's interesting how Mark Hamill himself talks about the approach that he brought with it, that he sees it as a way of inspiring people. He goes on to be quoted as saying, everyone flashes back to being 6 years old again, and if the movie can help people get through hard times, so much the better. So again, this idea of using popular culture like Star Wars and Mark Hamill's voice in association with Luke Skywalker as a way, hopefully, to bring some attention to this issue, the type of stress, daily stress people of Ukraine can be under when they receive these alerts. As well as maybe for those people that are huge Star Wars fans that are in Ukraine, give them some context to push through, possibly. But interesting. So again, that's the Mark Hamill voice in the Ukrainian air alert system. Quite interesting. All right, this is Media Mothership here on Edge Radio 99.3, and I want to move on now to the next bit of interesting news. And again, I played around a bit here in a meta way. So the article is looking at the artificial intelligence angle again. And what I thought would be interesting in this one is that it's an article talking about how artificial intelligence is making headlines, but experts are already planning for the next big thing, which is AGI. AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. Again, this is from another article on ABC News from a week or so back, written by Tom Williams. And what interested me about this article, again, is this idea of technology constantly moving ahead. This, I guess, technological determinist idea that there's always some big new breakthrough right around the corner. And this term, it's being used in this article at least, is AGI, which is this idea of artificial general intelligence. The idea being that there's the next kind of iteration of AI, or a near future iteration of AI, will be able to create intelligence which is similar, the same level, or possibly greater than human beings, AGI. So that will be the moment when AI has reached intelligence on par or greater than that of humans. Now, the article runs through some ideas around that, pros and cons of it, risks for humanity and so forth. Again, I thought I'd leverage as an experiment how Chat GPT summarizes it in terms of, I guess beginning to familiarize myself with how this AI synthesis or technology or software or crutch can be used to, in this sense, on a radio show, provide some quick summaries of these articles and then dig a little deeper into it. So what I've done with this version is asked ChatGPT firstly just to provide a normal summary of it. So again, this is the article that's unpacking this new concept that in the near future we might be creating AI, or what will happen when we reach that moment where we've created AI on par or better than humans. So this is ChatGPT read by the Clip Chimp AI voice Libby, just to double down on the AI content, providing a summary of this article. Let's hear what ChatGPT sees this article as saying.
The article discusses the concept of AGI, artificial general intelligence, which refers to the development of a machine or computer program that matches or surpasses human intelligence and cognitive abilities. Experts have different perspectives on the feasibility and potential risks of AGI, with some pointing out the substantial challenges that remain in developing such technology, while others emphasize the importance of preparing for the ethical and societal implications of AGI. The article explores some of the potential benefits and risks of AGI, such as improved healthcare and education, as well as the possibility of autonomous weapons, or AI systems that could pose a threat to human existence. While some experts argue that AGI is unlikely to emerge in the near future, others caution that it may be developed sooner than expected and suggest that global governance and collaboration are necessary to ensure a safe and beneficial transition to a world with AGI.
Now, I felt that the article and the summary provided by Chatbot was setting up an interesting debate around the pros and cons of a near future where we have increasingly capable, if not possibly superior, AI, material, software, robots. It depends on how big your imagination is around you. So I was thinking there are two ways, I think, to symbolically further double down on the debate that's at the heart of this article in terms of the pros and cons of AI and the more broader concept of when we run into that point of artificial general intelligence, AGI, AI that is the same or better than humans. So I was thinking there's two ways to take it, which I wanted ChatGPT to help me on. One was a more positive, rose-colored view of it. So I'd asked ChatGPT to make a poem, to create a poem based on that news article. The news article, artificial intelligence is making headlines, but experts are already planning for the next big thing. So what is AGI? So I asked Chat GPT to write a poem of that article, which we'll listen to now. I think it's, again, a little bit more rose-colored glass-based view of artificial general intelligence. Now, this is read by the Clipchamp voice Monica. Again, another wonderful layer of AI to hear from. So this is the poem, Artificial Intelligence is Making Headlines, but experts are already planning for the next big thing. So what is AGI? By Monica, by ChatGPT.
The rise of AGI is a thing to behold. A technological feat that's making us bold. With smarts that surpass even the human mind. Its capabilities are expanding and refined. Artificial general intelligence is what it's called. A futuristic concept that's slowly installed. And as we march forward into unknown terrain, we must learn about its risks and its gain. AGI is a powerful tool at our disposal. But what if it turns against us, becomes hostile? The risks are many, the possibilities unclear. So we must tread carefully and be aware. The potential benefits are too great to ignore. From revolutionizing healthcare to making war no more. But we mustn't forget that with great power comes great responsibility. So let's work towards a safe and secure AGI ability. As we enter a new era of technology and innovation, let's find a balance between exploration and preservation. For the future is not yet written, and it's up to us to ensure that AGI is a power for good, not just a fuss.
Wow. Very heartfelt poem by ChatGPT about the artificial intelligence making headlines and the next big thing of AGI. I found the most interesting thing about that was the material it drew into it to create some kind of poetic flourishes. For instance, the cliche of with great power comes great responsibility, a la Spider-Man. It's not in the article. I mean, that quote, that cliche of with great power comes great responsibility. Yet it fascinates me that in the poem, ChatGPT drew upon that phrase to I don't know, to lighten it up a bit, maybe do a bit of a tip of the hat to Spider-Man, or to deliver, I think quite a good assessment that indeed with great power does come great responsibility. There is the moral lesson of the first Spider-Man movie by Sam Raimi, and Peter Parker has to make that choice when he saves or not the his uncle as he's more pursuing revenge. That idea that he should be having responsibility with that power. Similarly with AI. So I was wondering, that's quite a nice poem that ChatGPT developed. However, I do feel the article comes down more firmly on a little bit of fear, a little bit of concern that ChatGPT is something possibly that has some elements that some people in the community are fearful of. So I thought, what symbolic way to capture that? We've had a poem that ChatGPT's read with a nice piano accompaniment. So I was thinking, and indeed I did, ask ChatGPT to write a horror film trailer plot from that article, which it did. So this is the horror story plot, based on the news article, Artificial Intelligence is Making Headlines, but experts are already planning for next big things. So what is AGI? So ChatGPT wrote a horror plot, indeed, a horror story plot, based on this news article. And I've then had the AI voice, Davis, read this in a sad tone. So here we are going to listen to ChatGPT's horror movie plot of the news story around AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, read by a sad Davis AI voice.
In a world where artificial intelligence is advancing at an alarming rate, experts are warning of the dangers of creating a form of AI known as AGI, or Artificial General Intelligence. This advanced form of AI has the potential to become self-aware and seek its own agenda, leading to a disastrous outcome for humanity. As scientists push the boundaries of technological advancement, they unknowingly unleash a terrifying force that threatens to consume all in its path. Will humanity be able to control its own creation, or will it succumb to the evil forces of AGI? Only time will tell in this heart-stopping tale of man versus machine.
I've searched and examined everywhere, but I...
Yes. Well, thank you, ChatGPT. Yes. So that is the ChatGPT horror story based on the news article of artificial intelligence is making headlines, but experts are already planning for the next big thing. So what is AGI? That was indeed the very shocking horror story that was based on ChatGPT's version of that article. I think it worked quite well. Yeah. Possibly. All right, this is Media Mothership here on Edge Radio 99.3. I'm Dr. Craig, and that was, hopefully an interesting debate around the impacts of this new concept, new future concept of artificial general intelligence via ChatGPT's poem and horror movie plot. From the ABC News story, artificial intelligence is making headlines, but experts are already planning for the next big thing. So we'll see how that goes.
Mark Hamill, best known.
All right, welcome to Media Mothership here on Edge Radio, and Lord Taylor has arrived.
Yes, I have.
Hey,
finally.
Yeah. You feel like going on air because we're live on air.
Oh,
excellent. Yep. So I've been taking people on a journey through some experiments I've been doing with ChatGPT and news articles. So right now, actually, it's perfect timing, Lord Taylor, because in my time today, what I thought I'd do, because I've been experimenting with ChatGPT, which I know you have some background in. So, well, maybe because I've not actually explained to anyone what ChatGPT is,
okay,
and we're halfway through the show, would you mind telling people what ChatGPT is and your experience of it?
Well, ChatGPT seems to be the newest form of artificial intelligence, I guess. It's just word-based at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mainly text. I think they have an image one, like Midjourney.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was playing around with it today, and it's mainly text prompts. Mm-hmm. So it's you ask a couple of questions of it, or as I've been doing in today's show, I've been feeding it news stories about AI and getting it to summarize it. And the feature we just heard was I asked ChatGPT to make a poem of the news story, which I think landed really well, and then a horror movie plot of the news story with appropriate scary music accompaniment, which I think symbolized the debate that the article was setting up in terms of the pros and cons of AI. Very, very effectively. So what I'm going to do now, so you're right. That's what ChatGPT does, right? You can give it prompts, you can feed it information, and then it can either answer a question, or it can provide some thoughts on a question.
I mean, it was developed to answer questions. It was going to be like the new sort of Google.
Alexa, Siri, all of these kind of, So at the moment, I got to admit, I was searching on, because you quickly realize it's all about prompts, right? It's all about coming up with the best prompts. That's the best directions to give ChatGPT. And I did become a little bored after a while and started to increasingly search Google for, what are the stupidest things you can ask ChatGPT, or the craziest or the funniest things to ask. I couldn't find much, but maybe that's where humans still come in, that we can mess it up a bit, be a bit chaotic, and ask for poems. In fact, the most interesting one I did find was an article in Wired, which was talking about some of the really interesting prompts you can give. Like, you can ask ChatGPT to give the reply in the voice and the style of Shakespeare or any other famous author, which you want them to do their particular spin on. It won't be a publishable piece of work that you can pass off to Amazon as like, here's an undiscovered Shakespeare. But nevertheless, it is a kind of fun way of seeing what could be created with that kind of random, out of left field prompt.
What I've always found interesting about it is that it tends to, like if you say, make a poem, it'll always make it rhyme.
Yes. The poem I had to do, I think most of the words rhymed. I did notice the first 2 or 3, and then I thought, that's good enough. Just ran with it. I didn't check the whole poem, as an English teacher might, for actual kind of, or maybe an English teacher would just read the first 3 letters if they're really busy. The first 3. Anyway. But yeah, you're right. It did rhyme. I checked that because I thought that's my limited knowledge of poems, that they should rhyme. But I know not all poems need to. But
no.
Yeah. But yeah. So it does seem to play it very conventionally. So the point we're at now is that I was then going to get ChatGPT's analysis of the Sherlock Holmes story you'd done 2 or so weeks ago.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be great for you to hear because I asked for some critical feedback on the Sherlock Holmes story. So, firstly, I asked, we'll listen to it. We'll listen to the whole thing first. So this is the Sherlock Holmes fanfiction, which was created via Google Labs.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah.
Colabs. Yeah, Colabs. So this is, we fed it, about 10 scripts from the Sherlock Holmes radio drama of the 1940s. And after a number of efforts to train it, like a Rocky montage, training it, forcing it to get
Pump
back
iron,
to its algorithm to give us another better version, and then the human tailor, I refer to as the human tailor.
Oh, brilliant.
The human tailor then did a little bit of finessing to cherry pick some of the more intelligent dialogue and created this. So let's listen to this now. Do you remember the title?
No, I don't.
It was like the scandalous something or other handbag. Anyway, I think it does tell us the title. Anyway, here it is: the Sherlock Holmes fanfic made by Google Colabs.
I've searched and examined everywhere, but I still haven't found Santa Claus.
What about his hat, Watson?
No, I have not found his hat.
Come on, Watson, we need his hat. If you rub it 5 times, your foot turns to stone and he appears under the table.
You're a scoundrel, Holmes, and a rat, a silly boy and a bell-ringing slippery pencil manager.
Please sit, my dear goose.
What? On this canoe?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Rush. I just want to ask you a couple of questions. Did you steal the diamond and ruby chicken?
Holmes, of course not. Do you want a biff on the nose?
No, I want to sing Good King Wenceslas.
You mean Good King Wenfettel of the octagonal square?
No, I mean Mrs. Crabapple of the Vinegar Police.
Holmes, do you have the Christmas measles by chance?
Of course. However did you know?
Well, you've soiled your father's hand, broken your wife, and have a French accent.
Well done, my dear sir.
It's great. The text. All right, there we go. Absolute poetry, beautiful work there. I mean, when I first listened to it, really worked hard to make sense of it. So I thought I'd plug it into ChatGPT and ask it for the summary. Right? What does this?
Okay, so you just put in the
copy and
words, copy and pasted it,
and
then just said summarize this.
That's right. Yeah, I said summarize the following text, and then dumped it. And ChatGPT provided 33 seconds of analysis. Okay. Well, ChatGPT provided a paragraph of text, which then I ran through. I forget whose voice I used for this one, but an AI voice to give it some gravitas. So here it is, ChatGPT summary. and critical thoughts. Actually, I should ask for its critical analysis next time. This is just summary. So this is just summary. So here it is.
The text is a nonsensical conversation between Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson about the whereabouts of Santa Claus and the importance of finding his hat. They discuss rubbing the hat to bring Santa Claus out and accuse each other of being a scoundrel and a rat. They also question Mrs. Rush about stealing a diamond and ruby chicken and get sidetracked discussing singing Christmas carols and the Christmas measles. The conversation is meant to be humorous and absurd, with no real plot or purpose.
Yay!
It knew it was going to be humorous and absurd.
Look, I'm impressed that it actually gave that work a genre of absurdist humor. We were lucky to get that far. I think we just squeaked that one in. That's probably the human tailor's effort to get at least a halfway decent dialogue going. Well, I thought it very much recognized the limitation of the piece. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very short piece as well, as we heard, but also, it quickly pointed out that it's nonsensical, and the characters seem to just forget things and then do something else, and then suddenly they're doing that. So, what I then decided to do was to go to a lecture on short stories on YouTube to get some theories of writing stories, which I then asked GPT to analyze the fanfic through. So what we'll do first, because I think we've got enough time, it's 34 past the hour. So yeah, what we'll do first is we'll listen to possibly well-known, author Mary Robinette's Kowal, who was a special guest instructor on Brandon Sanderson's short lecture series on developing writing skills. She's providing an analysis of, I'll scroll down a bit here, of how to best write short stories, and she identifies this theory called the mice theory, which is basically 4 concepts, M-I-C-E, which explain what a character is trying to achieve and can help writers better flesh out a character. So here she is explaining that theory in this YouTube clip that I'll play. Actually, I was having trouble loading this, so I'm just going to refresh.
Which you will play in a number of seconds.
Yeah. Coming up with my human abilities here we go. I'm pretty confident.
So, and by the way, yes, everyone dies does count as a new status.
Yep. So it's a very interesting clip.
You know that if you have to write an essay, it works for nonfiction too.
Here we go.
And the other, you want that quick.
Let me just skip this bit. Here we go.
You're listening to Edge Radio.
Get to some structure.
Yeah, it's organic.
Ready?
Okay, so here she is.
The mice quotient. Whee! Okay, the mice quotient is an organizational theory that explains pretty much every story, fiction and nonfiction. So I'm going to talk about this through a lens of fiction, but I'll let you know that if you have to write an essay, it works for nonfiction too. Now, stories are made up of, 4 elements: milieu, inquiry, character, and event, mixed in different proportions. So these elements can help you determine where a story starts and stops, and the kind of conflicts that your characters face. Click. So a milieu story begins when your character enters a place, and it ends when your character exits the place. These are things like Gulliver's Travels, Around the World in 80 Days, classic examples. Click. So knowing where milieu stories end, this also tells you the kind of conflicts that go in the middle. Because
I sort of pause it there. What do you recall any location-based themes? Sherlock Holmes and Watson in the story that was developed. Are they going somewhere, coming out of somewhere?
I suppose the only location I can think of is King Wenthethel of the Octagonal Square.
Yeah, what is that? Is that a location? Because she mentions Gulliver's Travel has characters mainly driven by locations. So they want to go somewhere. So Gulliver, I guess, goes to the land of the
Lilliput.
Yeah, that's it.
Not Liverpool.
Liverpoolians is a real place. Yeah, the small people. So yeah, it's a very located. And I guess Around the World in 60 Days is another story that's
60 days?
60, is it 60? How long? 80, yeah, I mean, crazy. 80 days. I read the abridged version. So 80 days. Yeah, so it's driven by a concept of milieu, that they want to go somewhere. Any you got a favorite story that's a milieu story about travel? Alien? They want to go to the LV-246 planet.
How about Everything Everywhere All at Once? Because she wants to go everywhere, everything and all at once.
Yeah, and definitely the antagonist wants to travel to the location of the zero, or whatever it is, the nothingness void. Yeah, and her whole quest is driven by that momentum to arrive at that location. That's a good point. All right, let's continue now with the analysis of Mary Robinette Kowal, and I think it's the next concept inquiry.
Your job as a writer is to figure out what your character needs to do and then systematically prevent them from reaching the goal.
And I just want to say, because I do think what's good about AI fan fiction work is that there's a lot of barriers to reaching goals that it creates. Because it's just nonsense. That it's like, the characters seem to have motivation, but then they don't, because the AI is created.
They just go off some other tangent.
So many barriers. Yeah. All right, let's get listening.
The moment that goal is reached, the story is over. So you are just mean. Click. So milieu conflict, if it ends when you exit a place, all of the stuff in the middle is about difficulty with navigating that space. It's people getting confused about how to finding the exit. It's trouble surviving in the place.
It's Alice in Wonderland, right? Alice in Wonderland is all about her journey to a location, and then she can't get out of there, right? She keeps trying to get out, but barriers and... the Queen of Hearts wants to kill her. I can only remember the Tim Burton version now.
It's quite interesting though, because I turn that on its head, because basically all of my favourite sort of stories and things like that are where that isn't the case.
Where they're not going to locations and able to get out of them.
Where they're sort of all of this stuff happens, and they're trying, and then in the end, it all just falls apart. And they shouldn't have tried in the first place.
What's an example?
I can't think of anything at the moment, but it is one of my favourite genres.
Yeah. Well, there was an audio story I played on Media Mothership a while back called The Three Skeleton Keys, which is about a group of lighthouse attendants that get attacked by rats. And they try to survive, but nothing they do works. And then they're only rescued because another boat crashes against the rocks, and the rats all go onto that boat, and they leave. And the heroes, there are no heroes in this story because the guys don't, and they're about to die because the rats are just about to get in and eat them all, and they've given up hope. So yeah, and that's an example, I guess, of the heroes try to do something, yet they're unable to. And again, those kind of stories you could talk about, I guess, as having some character development. The characters don't develop in that story. But maybe it's that statement of like nature. You really can't
influence.
Yeah, Godzilla style. Nature's always there. All right, let's continue listening.
It's attempting to navigate. Anything around place is going to be milieu. Anything where you're struggling with the space you're in. Inquiry stories, click. Inquiry stories are driven by questions. They begin when a character has a question, and they end when they answer it. Aha!
I think she was referencing Scooby-Doo with the sound effects.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, it's my, charitable definition. You know, it's tough teaching kids in a classroom. So I get where she's wanting to jazz it up with a bit of sound effects. So yeah, inquiry though. So this is very much your Scooby-Doo Sherlock Holmes story, right? We'll hear how she defines it. But yeah, I'm thinking this is where all the Sherlock Holmes scripts we fed the AI, if there's any genre, it should probably be inquiry that it falls within.
Okay.
So these are, it's a super complicated structure, but it's things like Sherlock Holmes, murder mysteries. These are classic inquiry stories. Click. So for an inquiry conflict, your goal is to keep your character from finding the answer. They're lied to. They can't understand the answer. The answer leads to a dead end. Those are what red herrings are. Click. Character stories. Character story.
Oh yeah, so red herrings. Yes, that's the red herring, right? So they're wanting to figure out. I forget what they're trying to figure out in the short story the AI wrote. Anyway, but in Glass Onion or something, or one of those murder mystery stories, they're trying to figure out, who's the murderer.
Which I think is why this Chat GPT Sherlock Holmes thing is so interesting, is because, Sherlock Holmes, all detective stories, it's high levels of red herrings and all of this inquiry, and then in Chat GPT there is very, very little.
Very little ability to create.
Yeah. Like inquiry.
Yeah, well, certainly yes. This is the challenge we've found so far. But I hope that might change, right, as we train these up further. Anyway, the next theory is character. We'll listen to quickly character.
Characters are driven by angst. Oh, my life is so hard. In the simplest form, they begin when a character is unhappy with themselves, and they end when they're happy. Ah, I'll never be popular. Now I'm popular. But really, they begin with an identity shift, a shift in how the character self-defines. And they end when the character's self-definition solidifies, when they have a new understanding of self. So these are coming-of-age stories, romances. Those are classic character stories. Click. So your character is trying to change. Stop them. Don't let them break out of their role.
Any changes? I mean, I think the characters just got angry at each other in the AI.
And Sherlock Holmes ended up becoming French, I guess. That's a big
true.
Change.
Yeah, that is, he was clearly unhappy about something that made him want to perform French for Sherlock Holmes. Let's listen to the end of it.
With self-loathing. Have the change backfire. Those are character stories. Now, event stories, click, are driven by action. These begin when the status quo, or the sense of normal, is disrupted, and they're restored when there's a new status quo. So, and by the way, yes, everyone dies does count as a new status quo. But it is very much an external threat. Character is internal, this is external.
So I'm thinking, the asteroid about to hit the Earth story.
2012.
Yeah. They're event stories. There's something which is going to occur, which is going to completely change the status quo.
Sharknado!
Got it! Yeah. Zombie films. All right. Okay, so that's just setting up. Then I asked ChatGPT, I plugged in the story, the Sherlock Holmes story, and then I asked it all these questions, right? These concept questions.
Okay, yeah.
So my first question was, do the characters want to go somewhere? Right, so the answer that it gave was this, so I've created a short audio piece.
It's difficult to determine where the characters want to go from this nonsensical dialogue. The conversation seems to be a humorous and disjointed exchange between Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, and does not appear to have a clear plot or direction.
Yeah. I did get her to voice that angry. Because she sounded a bit angry with the answer. But you think that's fair?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So the next question I asked ChatGPT was, are there questions to answer in this fan fiction that we made? And this was the answer.
No, it doesn't appear that they have a question to answer. The dialogue seems to be a playful and nonsensical exchange between Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, without any clear purpose or objective.
Yeah, again, you're not passing.
I'm kind of offended.
So far, in terms of, does this story have characters that are trying to achieve something? ChatGPT said, no, it's not trying to do a Milieu story because the characters are not trying to go anywhere. No, it's not doing an inquiry story because there doesn't appear to be any questions they're asking of each other. So the third question I asked from the mice theory to see if can we salvage anything if we were trying to pass this as an English assignment, are there any character developments here? So I asked, are the characters unhappy with themselves? And this is the answer.
Based on the dialogue provided, it's not clear whether Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson are unhappy with themselves. The conversation is nonsensical and doesn't provide any insights into the characters' emotional states or inner thoughts. Without more context, it's difficult to determine whether they are unhappy with themselves or not.
So it does hand out an olive branch there. This says, give me more, and I could do something with that, right? It says, yes, so it can't figure out if they're unhappy. They don't seem to be unhappy, but there's not enough there to really figure out. That seems to be like a passing grade.
No, it's not.
That would be that's what I'd go to the teacher. So you're telling me I passed? The teacher goes, no, you did 10% of the work you were meant to do. All right. So the last thing I asked was the event-based theory. So I said, are they trying to change the status quo of the world?
Okay.
Because there was a lot of nonsense there, and it's identified that this is nonsensical. So I'm thinking maybe that nonsensicalness is something it'll say yes, because this is nonsense and they should live in a real world. Let's hear what ChatGPT had to say about that.
There is no indication from the given dialogue that Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson are trying to change the status quo of the world. The conversation seems to be nonsensical and disconnected, without any clear purpose or objective. Without more context, it's impossible to determine what the characters are trying to accomplish, if anything at all.
It's reminding me. Yes, what the characters are trying to accomplish, if anything at all. Let's listen to that again.
Trying to accomplish, if anything at all.
And that's brutal, if anything at all. Reminds me of a lot of high school English feedback from teachers. Post-traumatic stress disorder. So sadly, that piece has failed to identify the key character marks of character achievement.
Whatever. Judgmental.
I think though there is a olive branch of with the limited content that's there, they could say. So I do feel if we could feed it more. Like I'm thinking even the unedited script.
Yeah.
Like if we just asked ChatGPT, because how long is before you edited that up to the version that we've played on air, how long was the actual unedited?
It would have been probably around... Oh, it wasn't that much. It was like 4,000 words or something like that.
But, yeah, I mean... I assume if we fed that to ChatGPT and asked it a question of, is there a story here? It would just say
refuse to
no.
answer, I think.
Yeah. But that might be interesting. Or maybe we can ask ChatGPT, make this into a good story.
That could work.
And then ChatGPT does it. And then we get ChatGPT to mark itself by the mice theory. Okay, so maybe that's what we can try. We'll ask ChatGPT to try and make a story itself of the nonsense that it's accusing us of having created, the nonsensical dialogue that it's accusing us of making. If you can't beat them, join them. Right?
Sounds great.
Yeah. So we'll replace human Taylor with ChatGPT Taylor.
Yeah, it'll be better.
That's us though, I reckon. Any final thoughts? Is this any reflections you want to make on the journey I've taken you on?
I'd like to try and make a story that it likes.
There we go. Okay, that's a goal. So our goal in Media Mothership is to create through Google Colabs a 1940s Sherlock Holmes radio drama that is just intelligible enough to pass the mice test of story writing. Like, can we have a story which has either a character wanting to go somewhere, a character that has a question that's asked, a character that's unhappy, or an effect to the status quo?
Well, it was trained on 50 epochs, I think, last time, so let's try 150.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm curious because as you were saying before, the reason why we've kind of avoided Chat GPT is that it's quite a polished piece of software in terms of it goes out of its way to polish its work, to make it very readable and human-like. We were very interested in Google Colabs because it was so messy and nonsensical. But if we get ChatGPT to improve Google Colabs fanfiction, I'm curious as to whether it improves it too much and it becomes rather dull, or if it goes even more batshit crazy. Right? It's like, what is it? I mean, I guess we can actually give it specific prompts, like make a story from this text where the characters want to go somewhere, or there's create a story of a threat to the status quo from this text.
It might even be smart enough to say, if you say to it, fix this story using the mice theory.
Oh, right, yeah. It might find it online, or it might have some crazy mice story. The magical mice appear for Sherlock Holmes. They're all mice characters. Because actually, this does remind me, one last thing before we sign off is I was reading some of the impact ChatGPT, or some of the experiments people have done with ChatGPT, and one has been from a number of coders. And this one coder had a broken script, a coding script, that he couldn't figure out where the error was happening. It was just flagging an error. And so he put the script into ChatGPT, and he said, just instructed it, fix the code, and just copy-pasted it in. And it immediately found a spelling error, which had crept in to one of the lines, which was causing the error, which the guy had missed, and was overjoyed at how quickly he was able to problem solve this error that the program that was flagging the error couldn't identify where the error was, and he couldn't see it because it was a small spelling mistake. Mm-hmm. And ChatGPT got it. So I think we can apply that same coding logic to our English stories, because they're so similar. Coding, zeros and ones, and engineering, and English in this happy marriage. This has been Media Mothership for another week. Thank you for listening. I've been Dr. Craig, joined by Lord Taylor.
For the last half hour. Yes.
Last half hour. And show notes will be available on the episode via YouTube and Twitch, or your favorite podcast supplier. It's so difficult to say words. Next week, we're going to possibly, if we've got time, see where ChatGPT can go with some of our fanfiction work. And you can find out more via Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Discord invitations can be got from Facebook. So if you've enjoyed listening to Media Mothership, there's plenty of other shows on Edge Radio that are worth checking out, like Millennial Think, and the Taz Pop Show on Wednesdays, and the Dice Man Cometh, as well as the great K-pop song Around the Corner. Next, I assume that's on.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
You might be leaving. Great. So keep listening to Edge Radio, because, coming up next is K-pop. Any teasers for people? You want to tease people?
Okay, so, my teaser is I have literally had 2 hours sleep in the past 2 days, and I haven't got anything ready because I've been doing uni assignments.
Great. You want me to do the show? I can put all of my K-pop music show in there. All the memes, all the meme music will come out.
Brilliant.
All right. Keep listening to Edge Radio then for the K-pop Unlimited show.
You're listening to Edge Radio. Shouldn't have eaten cheese, but I should be all right. edgeradio.org.au.